Okay, good afternoon. Today I will present problem number 8, jet and film. Jet and film is a thin liquid jet impact on a soft film, depending on relevant parameters. The jet can either penetrate through the films or merge with it, producing interesting shapes. Explains and investigate this interaction and the resulting shapes. Okay, this video will take you for the phenomenon. When I change the angle, incident angle. Okay. As you see from the video, this phenomenon can separate 3 steps that has a refraction. This refraction. So, and the transient state is the state that the phenomenon change from the refraction to absorption. The jet will bounce on the films. As you see, this take a video by using a high-speed camera. Okay, and the last regime is absorption. Here's absorption. Okay, for my study, I must study about Weber number. Weber number is the ratio between fluid inertia and the surface tension. Why I use Weber number for my study? Because I can't control every parameter. Such when I control radii of the needles, but the velocity of the jet will change to. For the Weber number given by rho v square r divided by gamma. Rho is the density of solution. V is velocity of jet. R is the radius of the jet. And gamma is the surface tension of the soft film. Okay, for the surface tension is a contractive tendency of the surface of a liquid that allows it to resist an external force. Given by gamma equal to work per area. Area is the area that the film is expanded. Okay, for explain this phenomenon, red line represent the film, and this is a normal line. When we shoot the jet into the frame, here's the force from the jet, and there's the reaction from the surface tension. So we'll have in x-axis and y-axis. Okay, for explanation, we will focus on f psi theta and f gamma psi theta. If f psi theta greater than f gamma max psi theta, the frame will break. And if we focus on f cos theta and f gamma cos theta, and if f cos theta greater than f gamma max cos theta, the jet will through the films. And if f cos theta, f gamma max theta greater than f cos theta, that makes the jet bounce on the films. So here's show when it's bounce. Here's the jet. Here's the action force on the surface and reaction force from the surface tension. So the jet will bounce up. Every time that it bounces up, it hit the frames, so it lost energy, until it had enough energy to jump up, but it's not have enough energy to to energy to that greater than cohesive force, that so we can see the jet merge with the frames. Okay, for my experiment, for the solution, I use soap solution obtained by adding 5% of dishwashing liquid and 5% of glycerin. For the density of solution equal to 107 kilogram per meter cubic, and surface tension equal to 0.004 Newton per meter. And this is my experiment setup. This is angle approximator. Here's the needle, and this is the position of the frame. And I use this pump to push the styling to get the water, solution. Okay, let's start with the experiment 1. I want to know about when we change the Weber number, how's about the critical angle? This critical angle means the angle that regime change from refraction to absorption. Here's the result shown as the graph. You can see when Weber number increase, the critical angle will increase. And we know that from the graph that the jet will be through the films and refracted when high Weber number or small incident angle. But the jet will be bounced and absorbed when low Weber number and big incident angle. For explanation, Weber number, as I told you, is the ratio between fluid inertia and surface tension. If, in my case, surface tension is constant, so that will, if Weber number increase, that means fluid inertia will increase. So that makes the large force on the jet. And we know that the force depends on theta, that the result like my experiment. Okay, for experiment 2, I want to know if we change the velocity, how about relation between incident angle and refracted angle? Here's the graph. If you see the graph that when the velocity decreased, the slope of graph is close to 1. That means the incident angle is equal to refracted angle. For my result, at high jet velocity, refracted angle almost equal to incident angle. As the velocity decreased, the influence of the frame induced measurable change in radius, angle, and velocity of refracted jet. Okay, I will conclude my study. I talk this problem. I talk about jet force that I represent by Weber number and surface tension that makes a different regime. If the jet will through the frames and refracted when we have a high Weber number and small incident angle, and the jet will bounce and absorb when low Weber number or bigger incident angle. And from the experiment 2, we know that at high jet velocity, refracted angle almost equal to incident angle. Here's my references. Thank you for your attention.
Hello. Could you back to the slide of the graph, the theta I and the theta R?
Okay.
About this point, the trend drive should be
0, right?
zero. And how can you trust your data, your trend line?
this 10 line is just a slope, right?
Yes.
So, but this point is just a mistake of the software.
No, it can use it can fix to 0.0 coordinate 0.
Oh, yes.
Back to the slide experimental setup.
Experimental setup. Verse here.
Next.
Next.
How you control the velocity of the jet?
Oh, this is the two of the laboratory. We control it by use the computer to control it.
Okay. What about the translational regime you said in the theory, but no experimental result in your experiment? And you said if the Weber number increase, it will change the regime to. If the low Weber number, it will change to absorption, right? And what can I know the exact number of the Weber number and the
Exact number of Weber number, right?
how can I recognize the regime?
Recognize the regimes. I'm sorry, that recognize, what does it mean? I cannot know. Rule. Could you repeat your questions?
Okay, next question. Okay. Go to your slide, the free body diagram.
Free body diagram. Sorry. Here.
What about the gravitational force?
Gravitational force. I think is including on the Weber number, because my Weber number depends on, here's Weber number, so where's it? If you look this formula, you will this term is the velocity term, and density and R is a mass term, right?
It's a mass term.
Rho and R is mass term. If you have big R, that means big mass. If you have a big rho, so that we have a big mass, right?
So, if the jets are very large, this phenomenon doesn't occur. Right?
Sorry, excuse me.
If the jet have the big R.
Big R, yes.
So this phenomenon doesn't occur.
Yes, it will occur. But if we have big R, that means the Weber number will be big, right? Right? That just if you want it to refract, you just give a small theta, it will refract. If you want it to absorb, you just make a big theta that it will be absorbed.
About the next question about the jet, should you control the jet for a laminar type, has a laminar flow?
Laminar flow, is it about Reynolds number?
Yes. What should be the Reynolds number of the jet?
I think in ideal experiment it should be the laminar flow, but in my study I didn't do it because I didn't notice about it.
Can you go back to the slide theta I and theta R again?
Huh?
Go to slide the theta I and theta R again.
Okay. The graph.
Yes.
Okay, here.
If I have a frame in the horizontal axis and the jet perpendicular with the frame, the shape of the contact angle
Okay.
it frame and it is the jet through the to the frame.
Uh-huh.
If the velocity increase, it is v1 and is the v2.
Okay.
What is different between what is the thing that happen are different and
If we change V,
yes.
right? We just know that if we change V, that theirs have Weber number is greater than.
I'm sorry, I can ask again. If I increase V,
Uh-huh.
what will happen about the film?
It just through the frame, right?
There is nothing anymore.
If you increase, right? Yes, it will be go down straight more than just.
About the film, I mean about the film, not.
You mean is the frame will break, right? I think it's hard to break because from my explanation, the force that make the film break is on the x-axis. That if you shoot the jet on the frame like this, so it has no force on x-axis, so it not no it the cause to break the film.
Okay, why the low velocity give the high refraction angle?
Oh, sorry. Oh. Could you give me a pen? So, this is the frame here.
Yes.
And so, when we shoot the jet here, and the jet will travel just a little bit like this and reflect it, right? So, I give distance is s, right? And the force from jet is F. So, and the diameter of the jet is.
At first, I I asked him about the trend line that should be at the initial point should be 0, and the next question, and I want to know how he control the forest, and he didn't tell me at the beginning, but I'm okay then. And the next point I move to the force that I think it should be gravitational force, but affect a little bit. And the next point, I asked him about the effect of the velocity, and the last point, the effect of velocity and the angle.
Okay. Okay. The reporter, I'll talk about the reporter first. His strengths were, it was clear, I think, about the forces and things. When he was talking with the diagram, it was easily understood what he was talking about. But there were some things I saw that maybe he didn't vary that might have affected. Oh, sorry, I put that on the wrong column. That's supposed to be there. It didn't vary some things that I thought might have possibly affected with experimentation, such as how much washing liquid you put into the water and stuff. But however, he did answer the question. He was also brief on some slides, which I felt made it a bit difficult to follow, a bit unclear sometimes. And missed out the explanation of transient, for example, which the opponent mentioned. The strengths of the opponent, he pointed out like the mistakes, so he obviously caught that out, and talked about controlling and stuff, and also asked about both the theory and the experimenting, which is always good. However, he struggled to get some questions out, which sort of confused both myself and I think also the reporter, which kind of dragged the questions on for a little bit. But he did also concentrate a little too much on the graph. Thank you.
Can you go to slide 24?
24. Here?
Yes, you already answered that you use the computer control.
Yes.
If there's no computer, how did you do it? How will you decide to measure the velocity, or how
Oh,
can you control?
I have tried to use the water tank and put it on the height, and so release the water, but it's not working. Because if we use the just a little needle, the water from the needle just a drop, not the jet.
How high did you raise the tank of water?
About 2 meters from the needle.
What what your physics behind that to put it higher?
Or I use the Bernoulli principle to design that equipment. But in real life, the water, the fluid head is not ideal because it had a capillary force on the needle, so that makes the water just drop.
So, and how computer help you in that?
This two is the name, I'm not sure, but it's CMU nanoliter pumps, right? But it's worked by, we control the valve of the motor inside it. So it push the styling with a constant velocity.
So, the basic idea is you just need something to put it with constant velocity.
Yes.
Okay, that should be the answer of that.
Oh,
The idea.
So you said something about the velocity of the inject liquid, right? Inject jet, incident jet as we call. How far is the needle from the film
how far is the needle from the frames?
when you inject the jet?
From my experiment, I set it the frame position in the center of the circle.
And how far is it from the center to the needle?
I think it is maybe about 10 centimeters.
Did you fix that distance?
Yes, I just use the center of the frames at the centers of the
That arc? Okay. And what type of liquid that you inject onto the film? What type of liquid?
what types of liquid?
Type?
Type of liquids.
Which liquid that you use?
For that, it's the same solution of the salt frame. It's the washing dish solution and glycerin.
Did you try different liquid? And what happened? If
Maybe
you
I
try?
want to do this experiment because if we change the solution, that means we change the surface tension that give us about the difference result.
Okay. The opponent mentioned about the gravity that could play some effect right here. Would you think that there's some effect due to the gravitational force or anything like that?
Gravitational force.
Yes or no? Do you think there's some effect that could
Yes,
happen?
there's something.
Okay. The reviewer, do you think the gravity would play some roles?
I think it would. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I think it would.
How would it play some roles here? What kind of thing that you would see could change the result of the experiment?
Change the result.
Say, for example, if the gravitational force becomes significant. how-
It becomes larger.
Yeah, suppose like
I
the
think
effect
that
is.
we wouldn't actually see or it would be much smaller the waves that we see, if you know. Yeah.
And the opponent, how would you see it differently? Would it change anything in the experiment?
The radius of the jumping, that the radius of the curvature is going roll down if freak the variable, and about the refraction regime, it will after
Okay, time's up, so you can answer in Thai.
คือไอตัว gravitational force มันจะมีผลเมื่อมันรัศมีมันใหญ่ค่าหนึ่งคราวนี้พอมันมีรัศมีใหญ่ค่าหนึ่งมันก็เรียกว่าอะไรคือ
ทะลุผ่านบ้าง
มันควรจะทะลุผ่าน
แล้วขาดไหมฟิล์มขาดไหม
ฟิล์มครับฟิล์มมันต้องมีpressure มากกว่านี้มันถึงจะขาด
ถ้ารัศมีใหญ่ขึ้นคือลำเจ็ตใหญ่ขึ้น
ลำเจ็ตใหญ่ขึ้น
แล้วพุ่งเข้าไปตั้งฉากกับเฟรมแล้วฟิล์มจะขาดไหม
ขาด
แล้ววัตถุประสงค์ที่มิ่งถามข้อนี้คืออะไร
คือมันมีตัว F คือเวลาคำนวณแบบมันมี external force เข้ามาตัว gravitational มันจะเป็น external force ที่เข้ามาทำกับระบบใช่ไหมมันก็ควรจะมีผลนะ
แล้วตอนนี้เสียงไม่มี gravitational force มาหรอ
มี
แล้วทำไมไม่มีเอฟเฟกต์ตรงนั้นหรอ
เริ่มไม่เข้าใจ
ฮะว่าไง
คือที่ถ้ามันเล็กมากๆมันจะสามารถละการคำนวณของ gravitational force ไปได้
อะไรเล็กเนาะ
รัศมี
อ่าฮะ
เพราะเหมือนมันแบบมวลมันเล็กมากๆถูกไหมครับเป็นระดับไมโครมันเหมือน ignore ค่า gravitational ไปได้
มั้งเคยเคลี้ยงก้อนหินใช่ป่ะบนผิวน้ำมันเด้งดึงอ่ะ
ครับ
ถ้าเราปาตรงๆมันก็ทะลุผ่านได้เป็นลักษณะนั้นป่ะกับถ้าเราปาเฉียงๆก็คือเหมือนกับเจ็ตยิงเข้าไปเฉียงๆก็จะเด้งดึงถ้ามองเป็น impulse เหมือนกันได้ไหม
ถ้ามองเป็น impulse
ก็เจ็ตก็ให้ impulse เข้าไปใช่ไหมเรายิงเจ็ตใส่ฟิล์มก็คือมี impulse จากเจ็ตลงบนฟิล์ม